event handling in JavaScript, how you handle events in JavaScript. So then from here we proceed immediately to React JS. So of course we have a vision. The focal point is to make sure everybody that's subscribed to this channel become a blockchain engineer, learn Web3, Solidity, etc. So and React and Node, both of them are very powerful. So I'm going to be teaching us about most of these things, and the JavaScript events are very, very important module in JavaScript that everyone is supposed to learn. All right, so we'll build some few projects with JavaScript too as we proceed, so that it can help us to understand how to bring all of this together. Then also it will also help us to understand some other things we've not come across that we need to actually know. So because of course there is no tutorial that will teach you everything you need to know about JavaScript, and most of these things are evolving. So let's start with event handling. So I'm going to create a new file and call that file. It's still part of document object model, so I'm going to call it dom4 dom4.html. Yep. So I'm going to bring HTML up. So for now I'm going to write everything I need to write under here, script. So I'm going to write everything I need to write here. So if there is a need for me to push to the other end, then I'm going to do so. So we are going to do introduction to JavaScript events. Introduction to JavaScript events. So an event is an action that occurs in the web browser, which the web browser feedbacks to you so that you can respond to it. So like when you click something, so for example, when you click a button on a web page, there's something that happens. Sometimes it can submit a form. Sometimes that clicking can pop up something for you. So there's always an action that follows such an event. And sometimes an event might compile a block of code or execute a block of code while you click that event. So there could be a block of code that happens. So an event handler is also referred to as an event listener. So it listens to an event and executes when event occurs. So if you don't get these things, you can pause and listen again. An event handler is also an event listener. So it's listen to a particular event and execute a block of code. So let's take for instance, if you have button BT button, just type a button, it's in capital. All right. So button. So click me here. So we're going to put an ID. Of course, you know what an ID is now. BTN. So we're going to listen to an event on that particular button. So if an event is called on that particular button, we're going to listen to it. So what we'll do is that we're going to use, so I'm going to come to my script and say let btn equals to, we're going to use document dot query selector, then this, that's btn document dot query selector. So it is an ID, so we are going to put hash. So if it is a class, it's going to be dot. So we're going to write a function show. You can call the function show, something like this, alert into the click me button, the button was clicked. So the button was clicked. So we want to say anytime that this button is clicked, there should be an alert. The button was clicked. So we're going to add an event listener. So we're going to call the BTN, that BTN button, BTN dot add event listener. I think I've used this before. So what is the first parameter this add event listener take is the kind of event is listening to. So in this time is click event, click. So when the click event happen, what function will it execute? So that's the show function. So to just execute the show function for us. So save. So I've saved this. Let me go to the browser now and check for. So enter. So this is the click button. So if I click me, so the button was clicked. That's the alert. It gives this alert. The button was clicked. So it worked perfectly well. So that's a simple event listener in JavaScript. How JavaScript handle event. The name of the event is click. So when I click, it automatically it executes this code, this particular function show, because the function is added to the event listener. So that is how that works. Another way to rewrite this function is to actually write all of this inside here. So most times you can just write the function here. So all you just need to do is to say function into, then put the block of code here, alert, I clicked. I'm supposed to just, so you can just move this down here. So function. So this one will help us to eliminate this. So the click, then this function runs. So if I refresh, now I click, the same thing still happens. So that's the first thing. So the way event happens in a JavaScript document object model is that if, for instance, I put this inside a div, and I call the div, put this, then I call the div id container, for instance. So the way event happens, anytime I click this button, it translates from this particular ID, this button, to the div, to the body, to the HTML, to the document. That's how events travel. So that one is called the flow of event, how events flow within the document object model. So when I click the button, it moves from the element called button to the element called div, to the element called body, to the element called HTML, then to the element called document. So that is what we call event. That's what we call event bubbling. So it starts from the button and end on the document. Some latest browser now end it on the browser, on the window itself. So the click event occurs on the button, which is the element that is click. Then the click event goes up to the DOM tree, firing on each node along its way until it reaches the document object. Like I said, if you look at it now, I've explained it. It's from the element button, then element div, element div, then after div is the body, then after the body it goes to the element HTML, then lastly element document. So that's how it goes from the button down. So that's what we call event bubbling. So then we also have event capturing, which is just the other way around. From the document, it moves to the HTML, it moves to the body, it moves to the div, it moves to the button. So that's just like directly opposite of events bubbling. So that's what event capturing is. So of course, the reason why I'm going into these details is you can be in an interview as a software developer and you are being asked the difference between event capturing and event bubbling. So you can easily explain how it works. So let's look at event objects. So event objects, and we're going to look at the most popular event object. There are a lot of event objects, but there is one that is very popular. So let's from this btn, this button, so let's do btn, that's that button, dot add event listener. So when you click it, you want to know the kind of event that was clicked. So we're going to call the function. So you see it sometimes at E. Most of these things I'm teaching you, you would see it even when you get to Web3, blockchain development for Web3 front end, you are going to meet it. So console.log into, let us look at the event type, e.type. So you can use this to know the kind of event that happens on a particular button, if it is click event or not. So if I click save now and go back here, let me first of all click. So let me look at the console. Sorry, let me view page, inspect. So let's check the console. Line. Okay. So let me go back to the console. I think there's an error here. Was that what was supposed to be there? Name that is. Okay. Let's just take this off for now. So let me comment this out. So let me refresh and click console.log. As you can see, the type of the event that happens on this click event, on this event, of course, is called click, and that is what we console.log e.time. So we have other ones that can tell us the type, the other properties of that or method of the event object. Okay, so this is a method. This dot type is a method or a function or a property. We can use method or property of this event object. So we also have other very popular event called target. So let's take a look at this target. Let me save it, save, and come back, click. So this is the target. This is the button we are targeting. And that is what is consoling here. E.target. So that's what is consoling. So what other event can we? So as we proceed, you will continue to see as little as very tiny as this is, you would meet it in the future. Even when you are writing Web3 applications, you will continue to use event listener to listen to what is happening on a page so that it will help you to know what you need to do. So there is also what we call prevent default. Is a method of an event, and you will continue to make use of it. So what does prevent default does? So it's also one of the method. So we're going to be dealing with the popular methods of the objects methods. So we've used type to know the type of event. So sometimes when you want to know if what somebody does on a web page, you can use the event.type, that is e.target. Sometimes people write this one as event, they write this one, then this is event. Most times people just put it as e. All right, so I prefer it to be as e. So we have type, we have target, then we also have prevent default. Then which other one are we going to talk about? Maybe so let's just talk about prevent default. So this prevent default, what it does is that it helps us to prevent the default behavior of an event. So it prevents the default behavior of an object. It prevents of an event the default behavior of an event. So I'm teaching you just like somebody who doesn't know JavaScript. So that's why I'm just going deeper into this. So let us create a file here and name it so that I can use to explain that link. So link, I will just link, I'll put a link to https into / maybe google.com. all right, so Google home page. All right, so that is that. So it will take us to Google home page. So I'm going to come here. I want to use that. So I think I need to give that. Okay. Let's link equals to document. So I want something to happen when you click that link. Of course, that click is also an event. So when you click on it, it's an event. So query selector into A. So query selector into A. So we're going to say link dot add event listener. So what kind of event listener are we using here? We want to use click. So function e. Yep. So console.log. Let's look at what happened. We want to be sure that it is being clicked. So let's just log clicked, or we can just log event.type. let's just log the type of event that happened. All right, so today we're going to do event.prevent default. So that is all. So prevent default, though does not stop event bubbling across the page, but it has capacity to cancel that particular event. So let's take a look at this. So if I click refresh, so if I click on home page, of course you see now nothing is happening. Ordinarily, without this prevent default, without this, let's refresh and see what would happen. It is loading the page. Can you see? So that's what event default for you. It prevents a particular event to carry out its function. So that click now, the click event is supposed to give us the page, but here we use e.prevent default. We will prevent it from doing what it's supposed to do by default. So because by default it's supposed to go to the next page like this. Can you see? But now let me refresh. If I click it, nothing is happening, but we know the click happened. That's the console.log e.type. So that click eventually happened, but it prevented the default behavior of the web page. So without this, if I did not do this, for instance, let me comment all of this out. The default behavior, because this is a link, so since it is a link, there is a click event already that will happen. When I click on it, it automatically opens the link. That's the default behavior for it to open the link. Okay, so but here, because of the prevent default, automatically that is happening for us. So it's preventing it from. So you would meet most of this very important event, different type of events. Their objects, the method of the objects. You see them as you progress in your software development journey. You can also add an event directly to an HTML element. All right, so for instance, if we have an input button, type of text, or type of let's say we cannot click text, but we can click button. All right, so we give it a value of save, then we give it. Now to add an event directly here without necessarily having to write inside the JavaScript, we can use onClick, and there are a lot of on events that on abort, on blur, on can play. As you can see, it's being suggested for me here. On can play, on change, on click, on context menu. Of course, personally, I don't know how many of them I've used before, but you can play around them. But there are a lot of them. There is on change, if anything change. So if it's an input button, I think there is on change. Yeah, there is on change. So this time around, I want to use on click. So when I click on it, what should happen? So I can use the alerts directly. The alerts JavaScript function is JavaScript inbuilt, so I can just come here and say button clicked. All right, so the same method for other ones is going to be the same for this. So if I refresh now, so this is the button. Let me put line break here to break it down. So if I click refresh now and click save, can you see button clicked? So that's another method. So if, let me just try something like input. Let me see input. test. So let me say on change. Let me use on change. On change means if anything happens on it. So what I can do is I'm thinking of what to do. Okay, I can write a function, for instance, that that does something for me. Or let me say on change. I'm thinking of a nearest. Can I use alert? Alert. So I can say, but this might not make sense. Typing inside button. Okay. So I'm not sure if that on change means if I type anything. Oh, that is not even working. On change cannot implement that alert. Okay, so probably in the future we would see how this on change can actually do something for us. All right, so I think it's only click that can work with this alert. So for now, just let's take that off. So that's one method of using this. Then here, instead of this add event listener and mentioning click, so we can actually say we can actually come here and okay, click. Okay, so this, okay, let me use this one. So this add event listener click. So instead of us using add event listener, we can just write btn dot on click directly, on click, and tell the event what should happen when you click on it. So that's another way to use on click. So say btc dot on click equals to function. So we want it to carry out a function for us, the same function that we've been writing since. Do I have the function written? Okay, so we can just say alert. So don't mind the fact that we're almost repeating everything, but we're just doing the same thing in different ways. Okay, so if I click me, so that's the click. All right, this particular click that I just wrote, on the click button. Of course, this is on link, so this is it now. btn dot on click function alert click. So that's just it. So if I click me now, can you see? So that you know the difference, let me put this is the new way to use click event. So that, can you see, this is the new way to use click event. So that's that. It makes it very easy that way. All right, so we've looked at 3 different ways to which you can add event to a particular element. So you can use from the JavaScript add event listener, mention the name of the event listener, then the function that will be carried out. We've done that quite a number of times. You understand? We've known the type of the methods of event. Then here we can just use btn dot on click directly. So instead of using add event listener, we can use dot on click function. So you will come across this type of thing as we progress in this particular project. So this particular course. Then here we can use this on click method to actually get the value of this particular button. So the value here is safe. So I can easily come here and say alert. Let me just alert value. So that I'm saying it should alert the value of this particular button. So let me refresh. Let me click on save now. As you can see, save. that save is coming from the word value, this value. So if I say alert.type, let me see whether it's going to give us the type button. Okay, so let me button, can you see? So it can easily help us to pick these attributes of this alert button. Can tell us the attribute value of this attribute of this particular input. So as we proceed, you will continue to understand how most of these things work, and you would continue to have a better understanding of it. So we can also do this alert and also use event here. Let's say event dot type. We can know the type of the event that happened when we do the click. So if I click it now, so can you see it? Click event. That's that. Then there is something you will continue to use as we proceed. It is called this button. This is referring to this particular element. So when I say this dot value, instead of just typing ordinary value the other time, it will pick the value save. If I click save now, can you see save? All right, this dot value. So if I click this dot type now, all right, so it will give us button, because that's the type of this part, the word this particular element. So that's what that particular this word keyword, we call it this keyword. That's what it does for us. So this dot value. The other one is event dot type. That's the type of the event. But this one, when you now use this, you are referring to the properties of this particular element. So this dot type, this is the type. This dot value, this is the value. This dot on click, let's see what that will give us. This dot on click. So let's see what it's going to give us. I've not tested it before. So it's eventually, look at it, function on click event alert, this dot on click. So it's brought out the whole function. That on click function is actually a function as you are looking at it. You understand, but it is wrapped that way. So that is how to use this. So this you would continue to use it as we build more bigger applications. By the time we start building JavaScript applications in this course, I hope that I won't have to be explaining most of these things one after the other, as I'm taking my time to do presently. All right, so there are different events like mouse over, like scroll down, keyboard effect. So there are a lot of effects, a lot of events that you can play around with. So most of which, of course, like mouse over event, keyboard event, when you are scrolling, when you focus, custom events and etc. So there are a lot of events in JavaScript. You can just Google them and and get used to it. So, but there is an important component of event management that you will continue to use. If you remember in the first